All right. So Hulkamania was not running wild in LA last night. Hulk got booed during his Monday Night Raw Netflix debut. See, he got cheered at Madison Square Garden. We're more based here in New York. Hulk Hogan is one of the most iconic wrestlers in the 72-year history of the WWE. But upon his debut at Netflix's Monday Night Raw on January 6th, his reception was less than welcoming. Hogan, who was rumored to appear at the event, entered the arena about 2.5 hours into the show to the tune of his classic walkout song, Real American. Joined by Jimmy Hart, Hogan was welcomed by a sea of boos from the crowd as he plugged his Real American beer brand and congratulated the WWE on its collaboration with the streaming giant. In the past, I've had a whole bunch of partners down the line, Hogan said. I had incredible partners like the Macho Man Randy Savage. I've had giant-sized partners like Andre the Giant. But the greatest partner the WWE has ever had is the fact that tonight we're making history and the WWE has tag-teamed up with Netflix, the greatest tag-team partner of all time. Hogan has become... It's not bad, right?
That's not bad. That's pretty good. I was just looking up Real American beer because I saw something. I saw a beer in the store the other day that had American in the branding, but it wasn't his. His is different.
Apparently it's kind of a Bud Light knockoff. He's trying to take advantage of the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney collapse.
The Exodus.
With his own brand, yeah. Hogan has become
Dick and Balls beer by Hulk Hogan.
Franks and Beans beer.
Yeah, Franks and Beans beer.
Hogan has become a pariah in the WWE community since his heyday in the early 80s. Trouble first started for Hogan, whose real name is Terry Bollea, when a tape from 2007 emerged of him using a racial slur. So what happened is his daughter had a black boyfriend, and they got him on tape using the N-word to describe him. The WWE cut him from their Hall of Fame in 2015 in light of the incident, but reinstated him in 2018. Hogan has only made things worse since then, becoming a stark supporter of President-elect Donald Trump. Again, it's Variety. Take it with a grain of salt. Hogan was not the only WWE legend to make an appearance at Monday Night Raw. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson opened the show and then reappeared alongside his cousin Roman Reigns following his victory over Solo Sikoa. I mean, do we really have to pretend that this is real? John Cena came out to start his 2025 retirement tour and declared himself for the 2025 Royal Rumble. And The Undertaker came out, this is the interesting part, and congratulated Rhea Ripley after her championship win over Liv Morgan. All three were welcomed with applause. Now, that's kind of interesting, given that Variety is clearly slanting it towards the fact that he supported Trump, and I'm sure that's a lot of it. This is L.A. But The Undertaker got cheers, and he had Trump on his podcast. He endorsed Trump. So it's a little strange that that would just be directed at Hogan. I'm sure that's part of it. And people talk all the time, hey, celebrities shouldn't be speaking about these things. Shut up and act. Shut up and sing. But usually you hear that from conservatives. To be fair, usually the arts people are on the other side. But hey, that goes the other way too, man. Like, he very closely associated himself with a very divisive political figure. You go to do an appearance in LA, you're the N-word guy on top of it. Well, you know, it's not necessarily going to go well for you. So some of the responses here, watching Hulk Hogan get annihilated with booze while trying to sell his rip-off Bud Light beer was effing incredible, and I grew up a Hulkamaniac. The crowd ultimately dictates the story, and Hulkamania is dead, killed by Terry Bollea. Hulk Hogan trying to appeal to wrestling fans and getting booed relentlessly, a beautiful thing. Watching Hulk Hogan get booed out of a building filled with 18K people restored my faith in humanity. Public Enemies podcast. And this is just a civilian who got some good from the crowd footage that I used in my montage. So let's take a look. Not going the way he expected.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Another
You
boo.
know something, maniacs? I've been in this business for over 40 years, and the greatest part of my life was being part of this great WWE, guys. You know, I've had all kind of tag team partners over the years, but you, the fans, have been my greatest tag team partner because you guys have stuck with me through thick and thin, dudes.
Not now.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I got to the end of that road. So yeah, hey, that is what you're getting yourself in for when you that strongly associate yourself. I'm not saying because it's Trump. I agree with the notion. It's, yeah, on the one hand, you have a right as a citizen to participate. I don't think it's really good for people in entertainment to so closely associate themselves with political parties and political figures. Now, as I pointed out with The Undertaker, I think there's more going on there. I think there was already a lot of ill will towards him before that. But hey, WWE, even in LA, that cannot be entirely a room full of Harris voters. So I think there's other things going on there besides the Trump endorsement. But I think it doesn't help if you're trying to be an entertainer for everybody when you go that far out on a limb to associate yourself with a very divisive political figure in a very divided time.
Well, yeah, and look, don't forget, because Donald Trump's convention speech was so bad and so forgettable, really, when the average person thinks Republican convention, they think Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the most memorable part of that convention. Right? Like Hulk Hogan was by far the most viral highlight of that, ripping the shirt off and everything. So yeah, I mean, look, The Undertaker had him on the podcast. The average person doesn't know that. Now, perhaps the average wrestling fan might know that. But they didn't hold it against him in the same way because he wasn't as much a public face of the Trump campaign as Hogan made himself. The other kind of celebrity story that we can't really cover because I don't think they let you play their shit on YouTube was the Nikki Glaser hosting the Golden Globe Awards and making that joke that went kind of viral.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hey, you guys have a lot of power over, but you don't have power over how people vote anymore, right? This whole idea that there is going to be a sort of cultural shift away from the sort of very sort of love Trump's hate brand of woke liberalism, if you will. And I think that's true. Sure. But, moments like that shows you that, hey,
it can bite the other way, too.
It can bite the other way, too, right? And so perhaps the pendulum won't swing all the way in the other direction. And look, I don't know if this is reading too closely into it, but the division in the ranks amongst Trump fans now, I think, was made very apparent by this H-1B visa throwdown. Like they are not as united a front as they were just a few weeks ago, because this was very, very core to MAGA philosophy. The immigration was not just one pillar of Trumpism; it was the pillar. I mean, it was the wall was the metaphor of the Trump movement. And so the fact that there's been this rift over this, I'd be very interested to see where Trump's poll numbers are in the wake of this. Now, we know he's going to come in and get a honeymoon period. Every president does. And so you might not get a full picture of just what exactly the fallout is right away. But over the course of the year, that will become more and more evident in the numbers. And I think This is one hint of that. It's one hint of that. All is not well in MAGA world. It's not a big love fest the way it was in late November. Already the honeymoon is getting old.
And this is something else that you have to remember that this could be a leading edge of. If Trump shits the bed, as I suspect he will, and doesn't really deliver for all these people who think they beat the establishment, if anything, he just doubles and triples down on giving the military-industrial complex everything they want, which he did his first term. He gave them more money than they asked for. Everyone always forgets that. He literally gave the Pentagon more money than they requested in the budget. So on top of it, if you have the economic collapse that they ran on, Elon 2 weeks before the election promised an economic collapse.
Trump tweeted about it a couple weeks ago. He said there's going to be a depression.
So you get an economic collapse. You get World War III or something like it, something that is World War III in all but name, which we're almost kind of in now.
They're clearly up to something with the New Year's Eve shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that all just escalates. What is that going to do to everyone like Hogan, who so strongly identified their brand with Trump and so strongly hitched their star to Trump? And we're not just talking about him. We're talking about the podcasters. We're talking about people like Joe Rogan, who threw all pretenses to the wind and has given them big hugs after the election. What's that going to do to these people? What's that going to do to their brands, to their credibility? I'm saying people who didn't drink the Kool-Aid are going to look pretty good at that point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, and the people who did, yeah, you're going to be holding a pretty hot and heavy bag of dog shit. It's already looking like that. Why do you think Alex Jones reacted that way? He knows. He's been in the media long enough. The guy's been on air for, 30 years?
We're so close to getting the globalists.
Yeah, so close. So close.
Oh, we're so close. Tune in next time.
That's right. Exactly. Well, you could see. I mean, look, and he's been on this beat. He's been on the globalist was the sort of moniker for the villain since at least the 2016 campaign, which is when he sort of really kind of framed the Trump versus Hillary election as nationalist versus
they're all globalists. They're all globalists.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, even in there's not really a class distinction. And look,
that's why they need that. That's why they need that. But anything, and this is both sides. It's not just them. Anything to avoid talking about economics, class, and structural inequality.
Right. Exactly. And so, to your point just a couple minutes ago, yeah, if MAGA implodes the way the libs have imploded, like we're going to end the show today with a funny clip of Chuck Schumer trying to explain away the Democrats' failings. That's what shambles they're in. If the Republicans have a similar collapse, now you're talking about a wide open political field. I mean, the playing field at that point is just a big open space, which is exciting for people like us, who really think it's necessary to really dismantle the legitimacy, not just of the two parties themselves as institutions, but of the movements they represent. Like resistance liberalism was just, it was a thing you could not negotiate with. It just had to be destroyed. And now it is. It has been. That's why they're not in the conversation anymore. And I firmly believe that this kind of pseudo-libertarian, whatever the fuck it is, this deference to tech billionaires masquerading as some populist movement, I mean, I shouldn't say it has to be destroyed in the sense that I think there are people, as has been proven over these past few weeks, there are people who have been suckered into that who are capable of being talked out of that. So that's why we're engaging so much with this topic. But what that movement represents at its core, which, as Whitney Webb talks about, is just basically a giant scam to get people to volunteer for their own subjugation at the hands of this fusion between big tech and big government. Yeah, that has to be delegitimized, just as the resistance libs had to be totally just taken out of the game. Right.
And
look, be vanquished to irrelevance.
And look, there's all this anti-nuclear war propaganda, like, oh, you're going to have to live in a bunker for 50 years. you know, 6 months after they destroy the planet, we should be able to get together and,
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
you know,
Yes.
form some kind of a political party.
That's right. Don't be such a doomer.
Please clap.